Well, thanks everybody. Just before we get started, I just want to thank staff and council for being, and our delegation this evening for being responsive to the fluid situation that is COVID and reverting back to electronic participation. And with that, I will now call the Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 regular meeting of council to order. First item of business, adoption of the agenda, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, as you both know, you'll be the movers and the shakers this evening. Councillors G and McLean will not be joining us this evening. All in favor of adoption? It's carried. Adoption of the previous minutes. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. We do have a delegation before us this evening from the Community Futures of Fraser Fort George, the Outreach Program Update. The floor is yours, Ms. Thorne.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm going to let Kristen lead us off here, if that's okay. Kristen DeBook is in Prince George and is the project manager of Community Futures Fraser Fort George.
Welcome to the council meeting, Ms. Dubek.
Thank you. Do we have the presentation loading here? Great. Well, thank you, Your Worship and Council, for giving us the opportunity to provide you with an update on our project. My name is Kristen Dubuque. I am broadcasting from Prince George tonight from my home here in Prince George. And as Shona has mentioned, I'm the projects coordinator with Community Futures Fraser Fort George. Shona is the regional business liaison who is on the ground in Valemount and represents the Robson Valley in this project. We are pleased to be given an opportunity to present on behalf of Community Futures Fraser Fort George, and we would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and unceded territories of the Simpcw Nation, First Nations, on which we are learning, working, and presenting today. Thank you, Shona. So just a quick overview of who we are as Community Futures. So we are a community-based economic renewal initiative that was struck through the federal government to help rural Canadians start and expand a business and help sustain and improve communities and their local economies. The Community Futures Fraser Fort George office is located in Prince George. However, we do have an office now in Valemount, out of which Shona now works. And we serve the Fraser Fort George region of Prince George, north to Mackenzie, and then east over to the Robson Valley, including Valemount. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been working hard to support local small businesses and communities help recover and, pivot and recover during this unprecedented time. And one of the programs that we have been focusing on is the Fraser Fort George Outreach Program, which was launched in August 2020. And is funded through Northern Development Initiative Trust and Western Economic Diversification. Next slide here, Shona. So Shona is going to provide more kind of an overview of the program and some of the results, early results that we have seen from it. But the team for this project, so there's Shona in the Robson Valley, and then we have two other regional business liaisons, one who represents Prince George, that's Amelia, and one who represents represents Mackenzie, and that is Jessie. In addition to the project team based out of the Community Futures office, we've also struck a round table of community partners, which includes the Village of Valemount. It also includes our other municipal government partners, Northern Development, the local Chamber of Commerce, the Regional District, and the Aboriginal Business and Community Development Centre. Next slide there, Shona. So the point of the roundtable is just to help provide some insights to the data that we've been collecting, as well as provide an opportunity for conversation, collaboration, responsiveness, and innovation, and to help us kind of leave behind a legacy with the data and the projects that we'll be developing from this work. So from there, I am going to pass it off to Shona, and she'll run you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Kristen. So I'm sorry about the time lag. It's kind of weird. So what we're doing, just a brief sort of recap. We're listening to 160 businesses and organizations in total, 40 of which are in the Robson Valley. As of December, we got to the midway point. We are referring each business we meet with to customized resources through programs and services. We're collaborating with think tanks to develop informed designs for our organization and mandate. And we're going to be amplifying the voices of our rural businesses and organizations through channels like local media and our community partners like yourselves. So we would like to invite anybody any of our partners to use this data to inform their own work if they want. And on our website, which we'll share with you at the end, but it's Community Futures, Fraser Fort George, there's live ongoing updates that you can watch at any time. As we load up the interviews, the data changes, and you're welcome to go on there and see what's going on. So the context is the health of Fraser Fort George businesses through COVID-19 pandemic and how we can support them as they adapt to our new normal. So where we are right now is just beginning of January, 80 have been completed. We've got a couple more in the bag the last couple of weeks. We're going to be issuing a midterm report, which is our project lead considers more exciting the end of term report because it's a time where we can be flexible with the information we gathered and pivot ourselves to meet what we're hearing from the businesses in a way that actually helps them rather than being like, this is what we said we're doing, so that's what we're doing. However, we still have deliverables to make sure we get to by the end. So what we're looking for in January, February is public feedback on what to focus in on our 5 think tanks. So it's 5 projects that we're going to deliver that we're going to really delve into that'll hopefully provide tools for our businesses. These new proposals and projects will be developed May, June. All the while, we're going to be amplifying the story as long and as loud as we can to anybody we can. And by the end of June, we will be completed this 160 interviews. We'll have a final report and the end report for NDIT. So themes are emerging, and we focused on these 7 main insights up till now because this is what we've heard consistently from our businesses. Possibly no great surprises, but what was surprising was the depth and breadth of the information that we did get from our businesses. So just a little bit more detail, what we're hearing is that interconnections in society play the strongest part in business survival. And this ranges from family stability. When we ask businesses, where did you look for support? 95% of them said my family. They didn't say, you know, the internet or anything else. They said family providing them support and strength, which to me means we've got to make sure that our families are supported because that's integral to our business health. But it ranges right through warehouse efficiencies, associations, networking, air cargo, shipping, everything, you name it. We've heard really strongly that pre-existing issues have been exacerbated by COVID-19. Every crack in every system seems to have come up to hard focus. And this runs from the mental health issues, supplier routes, our rural-urban divides, job insecurities, gender gaps, you name it. We've also heard that associations have been incredibly valuable when they work, and the first to go if they're not showing value for money because business owners are having to cut costs. And so those memberships that are not providing them like value back, they're out the window. Information's an issue. Like business owners one of my colleagues, she's not here tonight, so I'll say it, but she hates it when I say ostrich syndrome. But so many of our business owners have got ostrich syndrome because there's just so much information coming hard and fast down the pipes. People are getting overwhelmed. They don't have the time and the emotional capacity or mental capacity to sift through what's relevant. And so they need help, really need help accessing reliable, relevant, preferably custom information for their business or their size of business or their locality of business. But, not just the sort of brain dump that's the internet that takes you 3 hours to get anywhere. And then, of course, no surprise to us in the Robson Valley, microbusinesses in rural areas are really not meeting the majority of criteria for support programs. And so what we've heard from businesses is that more focus is needed on microbusinesses and rural economies. And just so you know, we're defining microbusinesses as those with under 5 employees. Often it's a sole proprietor doing it off the side of their other part-time job, but for our purposes, we're using under 5 employees. So as we listen, we're hearing remarkable stories from our business owners. And these are some of the examples. I'm not going to read them out to you. They're just examples of the personal and professional barriers that people are getting for help. Much of it comes down to just being not eligible for funding. So for a variety of reasons, there's also a great deal of trepidation in accessing funding because of the ramifications down the line. So a bit of confidence in there. If you are curious about a certain topic, please do reach out because we have information from 80 businesses and we've got some great quotes and great stories. And just because we focused on those 7 topics doesn't mean there isn't more out there, and we can search and find information if there's something of interest to you. So to Valemount, Robson Valley in particular, great photo. I don't know who took that, but it's on the Village site, so it's a lovely photo. But thoughts from the Robson Valley include how long can we stay afloat? First wave, okay, got through that. Second wave, what are we doing for it? Well, not much. We're just going to tuck in and just keep on going and, we'll get through it. We're in it together type thing. And I don't even know which wave we're in now, but people are struggling. So when we ask businesses how they describe their business or organizations today, we heard that 13% are doing well. Some businesses have really flourished. They've landed more contracts or had to take on more employees to cover workload. Some are doing okay. 41% said they're doing okay. This is a bit of a problematic statement because some of them start the interview and say, we're doing okay. And then by the end of the interview, they're letting you know all the ways in which they're struggling. So it's a bit of a hard one. There's a bit of pride involved. A bit of we will be okay, that sort of hopeful endeavor. 24% say they're just taking it day by day. They have no, not concept, that's the wrong word, but no thoughts of the future. They're just literally hoping to get through the next day and the next week. And that's all they can manage right now to think about. And then 22% said that they're ready to close, had closed, or need help. But all of them that we spoke to said that they were looking for direction, commenting there's no dialogue, no support on a local level, and that more communication would be good. So from our data on the right, you can see that we've heard that businesses are getting squeezed by costs and cost increases, but their hands are mostly tied by from raising prices, whether it's they don't want to be accused of price gouging, or they feel for the customers because the customers have lost jobs and they don't have excess money, and so they're trying to do right by their community members. But everything else is escalating out of their control, and they just don't have capacity to pay their staff or for longer hours or for the extra workload that's been incurred by managing the protocols in particular. These costs are have to be viewed in a holistic manner, not just in terms of finances, because they include increases in cost and time, supplies, shipping, responsibilities, the emotional toll, the workforce, anxiety, relationships. One woman, not particularly from the Robson Valley, a different business area, said that she had to close her businesses to make the panic attacks stop. So, like, people are having a hard time, but they're trying to put a brave face on it, I think, and say that, you know, we'll get there. And this is just an example of direct quotes from Robson Valley businesses that sort of speak to the many different ways that the costs have gone up for them, whether it's workload, operating, lack of volunteers, which is added to everything else, virtual stuff being added on, you know, all that time and energy that you have to figure everything out, the emotional cost. And then, of course, again, memberships and advertising have really been the first to go, because those are not seen as important if it's not bringing direct, immediate value to them. If we look at just a financial aspect of costs, which we know has a domino effect on all the other costs, we've heard that one of the main reasons for financial cost increase is down to the difficulties and expenses involved in micro and small businesses getting supplies to the rural areas. So this word cloud is just, the larger words means it was mentioned more often. So you can see that it came up a lot with our Robson Valley businesses. And again, some direct quotes from our Robson Valley business owners. And the supply challenges revolve around meeting the customer needs while fulfilling their orders. But it's jeopardized because of the uncertainty of stock availability, the delays in delivery, and the shipping increases. And many of the businesses said that they had to order 3, 4, 5, even 10, I heard from one business, times as much as they normally would, because they didn't know when their next shipment would arrive. And this means further financial hardship as they have to shell out more money to get these huge orders. One person said, that 40,000, that didn't even cover one extra order, the 40,000 business loan. So then they're sitting on stock that might go bad, has happened to one of our Robson Valley businesses, or not sell enough time to get money back for the next order. And the extra time they've spent trying to source new suppliers when stocks are sold out, or they're not making it to rural destinations. So as we look to support businesses in the Robson Valley, we're hoping to whittle these 12 main themes down to 5 feasible and focused projects. And these will involve small groups of motivated businesses to critically reflect on our findings and help prioritize common opportunities and challenges.
We'll just take a pause for a minute we're just getting to the end of our 15 minutes, but we'll just ask council's for a motion to extend the delegation. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? This carries. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. I apologize for running on. We just got a couple slides here. I appreciate your time. So these are the 12 main themes. We want to whittle them down. We want to figure out 5 main projects to help our businesses. And we're looking for what matters to businesses, what's feasible to do as a project or a proposal, and where is there likely to be the most community engagement. So we'd like to collaborate with the think tanks to develop these specific projects. And we're looking for public feedback and input on the 5 main themes to zone in on. If you or anyone you know would like to provide feedback on, we have a very brief survey that Kristen's going to throw in the chat there. And it's a ranking survey, so you can take those 12 themes and rank them in the order that you think is most important. It's anonymous, and we love input on what everybody thinks is most important to prioritize for the next steps. So like I mentioned at the beginning, if you are on the Community Futures of Fraser Fort George website, you can click on the link and it's updated as we add extra surveys, so you can see what's going on. And we welcome all of our community partners to use this data to inform their work if they want to. And thank you for listening, and we welcome any questions if you have time. But I appreciate the extra time too.
Well, thank you. This is an amazing program. Council, please motion to receive. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, if I could just have you stop sharing your screen and I can see the speakers. Thank you. Questions for the delegation, Council? Well, maybe I'll go ahead, Councillor Blanchette.
Shona, you had mentioned that you're going to be putting something on Facebook. So I don't think I can read my notes here. You're going to be loading something on Facebook. When will that be?
So, good question. We've kind of been morphing along with this because it started off as we were hoping to have in-person open forums and invite community residents to do, some of this in person, and obviously that's not going to happen. And we've been holding off trying to see how the plans changed on January 8th and what the new rules would be. So at the moment, we're looking to get people's feedback using those 12 problems and bring them down to, a prioritized order. And we're just going to be asking people to do that ranking survey, and we're going to be putting that on Facebook. And hopefully comment on what businesses, and of course we'll be sending that to business owners that in the valley as well, not just a public forum. We'd like everybody to participate because this has got to be something that the communities can get behind.
I think too the chamber can whatever help we can be. If you want to email that to the chamber, we can send that out to all of our members as well. So
that's marvelous. Thank you.
And also just if you, as we're sending this out, if you do speak to anyone who wishes to provide more in-depth feedback than what it's a fairly short survey. So if they wish to provide more in-depth feedback, they're more than welcome to contact Shona, myself, or one of the other RBL team. And we'd be more than happy to sit and have a bigger discussion with them about it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Pearson, anything to add?
No, it was a great presentation, a ton of information. I'm definitely going to hit the website and take a look at her.
Yeah, absolutely. When the work by Community Futures, the Community Development Institute, Chambers of Commerce, they were all paramount in the early days of the pandemic. And when I heard this program was coming to fruition, I was ecstatic. No doubt these are hard times for a lot of folks, and Shona, I'm not really shocked about anything that you heard from your interviews. I think the information that you're able to gather will work well with economic development divisions of the province. And so with that, I thank you so much for presenting to us.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kristen. All in favor of receipt?
Okay.
Under 6.1, thank you. Under 6.1, we have an appointment request from Northern Health and a recommendation here that Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Pearson each be appointed as a liaison to the Northern Health Authority. It's Council's wish there. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carries. Is there anything out of the reading file folks would like to draw out? I'll maybe just think about resolutions coming up for both NCLGA and the AKBLG, as well as it's nice to see that the Columbia River Treaty negotiations are still on the go. Councillor Pearson?
Yeah, I had to get back to where I was on my page here. Item 9, the letter from Quinnell regarding the streetlight rates. Just wondering if that's something we should look at, including a letter to BC Hydro about as well. I mean, this could incur a cost for a lot of small communities. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't recall receiving anything from either the BCUC or BC Hydro in this regard. Is there anything received by administration, Mr. Robinson, that you can recollect?
Not at this time, no.
I would recommend, Councillor Pearson, that we get more information from BC Hydro regarding their proposed plans for first this area and the surrounding area. How's that suit you?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
And then we can make a more informed correspondence back.
Okay.
Excuse me. Administration reports 8.1, the 2020 building permit values report we received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion? All in favor? Carries. The 8.2 property numbering initiative report be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any discussion on that? Councillor Pearson, followed by Councillor Blanchette.
Yeah, I'd just like to, comment. After, excuse me, our brief conversation about it after a meeting, that it kind of took a life of its own. It's quite an intensive report on the initiative towards numbering houses. I don't know if we anticipated that we were opening up quite as big a can of worms when we were talking about houses without house numbers, but great work from staff on it, and we'll see where this goes.
Councillor Blanchette?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank staff for doing this, and like Councillor Pearson said, we'll see what we've opened up. But it's for everybody's safety, so I think it's a very valuable program. So thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the report being received? It's carried. Under 8.3, the Destination BC Visitor Service Network Program grant application. A couple recommendations here. The staff submit a letter to Destination BC confirming the Village of Valemount is the lead provider of the community services, visitor services. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carries. And 2, that staff be directed to apply to Destination BC for the Visitor Services Network Program grant funding in the amount of $12,500. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion on that? All in favor? It carries. We have a 2021 wood stove exchange program under 8.5, and the report be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Did you have, I'm sorry, Councillor Pearson, my connection must be slow. Did you have a question? I think you're on mute.
famous words of 2020. You have an item 8.4 on agenda, COVID-19 safe restart.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for that point of order. Let's not skip over that. Some funding. 8.4, COVID-19 safe restart grants for local governments, that report be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Thank you for pointing it out, Councillor Pearson. All in favor? It's carried. And on to the Wood Stove Exchange program report to be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Anything from the Clean Air Task Force, Councillor Blanchette, in this file?
We had our meeting today, and so a lot will be coming forward at our next meeting. So we'll wait until then, and we can have a discussion.
Very good. Thank you. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, just a couple comments on it. Pretty intensive program. I appreciate all the work that went into it. I see a couple items in there that I find would be very hard to manage or police, I guess. And one item would be for anybody that has a wood, excuse me, a wood heater, would have to not use it if the venting index indicated we had poor air quality. One, you're expecting people to get up and look every morning at the internet to see what the venting index is. That may or may not be a possibility. And then who's going to drive around and check chimneys for smoke on those days? I mean, that one seems to me it would be a tough sell. And in general, I appreciate the direction this is going, but the fact that we live in a forest-driven community, I think there might be some pushback. This could be a tough sell in some areas. I appreciate us looking for upgrades and stuff like that, but the timeline to have everything converted by 2025 might be tough. So just my thoughts.
No, they're good thoughts, Councillor. Particularly when we don't have venting equipment, identifying equipment in this area. We are in a red zone. That is known. And generally, in the wintertime, we don't have good venting at all. It'll remain poor. And of course, those are pulled out of the McBride and Blue River venting indexes.
Yeah. Point of order, I think we should just pause. We've lost Councillor Blanchette.
We will pause. We actually can't go anywhere because we don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
I actually got booted off during the delegation for a short period.
Yeah, I keep getting the unstable connection message too, so. The joys of being virtual.
Mr. Robinson, would you like to just follow up with Councillor Blanchette?
Yes, I just have, and she just texted me back saying she's trying to get back in.
There, sorry, you guys all froze. I thought it was you guys.
It could have well been. Was there any further discussion on the Wood Stove Exchange program? All in favor? Carries. 8.6, official community plan and zoning bylaw project update. This report be received for information. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any discussion on the update? Fast and furious. Councillor Blanchette.
Just a sec, I'm just trying to find my note. The mobility plan. I really enjoyed reading this. I like the possibilities of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to flesh out, flesh out any more. And for us to sort of pay attention also to the mortgage helper idea, offering, other possibilities for people to be able to live here and stuff. So I like both of those two stood out quite a bit for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, great. Further discussion? All in favor of receipt? It carries. 9.1, Village of Valemount Development Procedures Bylaw number 789, 2018, Amendment Bylaw number 839, 2020. Looking for third reading. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion on third. All in favor? It carries. No to the notice of motion. Council reports. Councillor Blanchette.
Sorry, Happy New Year to everybody. I have 0 to report.
Well, and Happy New Year to you. And
thank you.
Glad it was nice and quiet for you on the municipal front.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, we had a special meeting of the Tourism Committee this afternoon for some discussion on the provincial health officer's orders being extended. And so we had some discussion there. And other than that, nothing else to report.
Thank you. I go back into December. Starting on December the 9th, participated in a BC Hydro webinar on the Integrated Resource Plan, what their outlook for consumption and power generation for the next 20 years, and the different kinds of generation opportunities. December 10th, timely webinar following BC Hydro with the Community Energy Association, and the Explorer program that they're putting out allows a community to see what they're overall consuming, where their energy needs might lie, and for the most cost-effective way to reducing consumption. December 11th, had our first briefing with the newly inaugurated Municipal Affairs Minister Osborne, and a plethora of Northeast and Northwest communities. I think there was 41 communities on that call with the minister. December 14th, had a preliminary meeting with Simp First Nation and the First Nations Major Projects Coalition. December 15th, at a Columbia Basin Trust Investments Committee, followed by a briefing with Valemount Emergency Services. 16th, at a Zoom meeting with the Resort Municipality Mayors. We reconvene this week, later in the week. That evening, had a VARTA board meeting. The 17th, I had my first chair meeting with Columbia Basin Trust senior staff. I've been named or appointed the Housing Initiative Chair, so hoping to make some waves on that front. Later that afternoon, Regional District Fraser Fort George meeting, board meeting, pardon me. And then on the 18th, the newly named Southeast BC Connectivity Committee, used to be the Rural Municipality Connectivity Committee. Of course, the biggest thing there is to identify those communities that have been named ineligible for federal funding in terms of connectivity funding from the feds, Valemount being named one of those. So it's really important that we get the word out that speed tests are integral to January 7th, had a quiet Christmas break, which was nice. January 7th, had a Robson Valley Region Steering Committee. And then today, an update on the caribou management program in the province and the inaugural 2021 briefing with Valemount Emergency Services. One highlight of that, Unit Chief from Station 533, Derek McClure, raised it that he was anxious to hear or to see the results of how well we were behaved as a province over the Christmas break. As we know, the period in which you can gain symptoms and then exhibit them to testing. We'll see what kind of curve we have next week in terms of whether we've been able to flatten it out or if we have any stiff increases. And that's my report. Motion to receive. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, questions for the reports? All in favor of receipt? Carries. Have there been any public comments received?
We have one.
We have one. Let's.
And it actually was a question from Alan Zhao, and he was curious whether or not the presentation slides can be downloaded from our website. And the answer to that is the presentation slides are available on the Village Council meeting agenda, or if he would prefer, he could email the village and we'd be happy to email those to him. That's it.
Is there any opportunity just to put the presentation on the homepage of the village website for the next couple of days?
Of course.
Thanks so much for the comment. Motion please to receive. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor of receipt? It's receipt, it carries. We'll now give notice to proceed in camera for consideration of one item per section 91E of the Community Charter to discuss matters related to E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, all in favor,